Oh, cuppa.
We're live.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. It's
Afternoon.
It's us again. It's Margaret
And Linda.
I
We're having a cup of tea today.
I feel a bit like the two Ronnies. So, welcome to the Existential Cuppa. I'm just going to get myself settled in. And before we get really launched into it, I would just like to acknowledge that we are broadcasting to you today from Larrakia country. And I pay my honour and respect to the elders, past, present and emerging, and give heartfelt thanks and gratitude to the traditional custodians of this land, the Larrakia people, for their generous sharing of this beautiful land that I live and work on. I give thanks for the beauty of the light in the sky, the sound of the trees, the birds, the animals, the people, and the sea that surrounds us. And I ask to do spirit work here in accordance with and harmony with the existing deep spiritual connection of this place, for the healing and enlightenment of all. So welcome. Here we are on Larrakia country.
Indeed.
And it's really hot, windy. I'd hate to be the fireys.
Yes.
Hot and windy out there.
And I'm desperately hoping that we'll get some rain.
Oh, me too. So if you're joining us live, say hello, pop a comment in and let us know who you are and where you're watching from. We'd love to know. And today we are going to talk about elephants.
Yes.
No, actually, we're not.
The big one in the room.
The one with pink toenails that gets in the custard in the fridge.
Indeed. We are indeed.
So what do we mean about the elephant in a room? Of course, we're talking about the current environment that we're living in and the level of stress and pressure that everybody is feeling with the number of choices that are hanging in front of us and, you know, the environments that we find ourselves in and the restrictions that we find upon ourselves. And so what Margaret and I were talking about during the week is, well, how can we actually, you know, talk about this in a safe way and actually give something that is meaningful and constructive and useful to help people who are making decisions, you know, and I'm talking specifically here about vaccinate, not vaccinate. And I don't want to get into a debate about that because from where I sit, the argument on that is actually just another distraction and it's just another mechanism to keep us in conflict and in fear. It doesn't really matter what your choice is because your choice is your personal free will. And that should have no ramification on anybody else and nobody else's should have any ramification on yours. Of course, that's an ideal world. So we were talking about, okay, how can we help people regulate nervous system? How can we help people understand the broader context from a vibrational level of how they can support themselves through this time? And we've got somebody tuning in to say g'day. Hello there and welcome, Sweet Eyes Lattimore. It's so nice to see you. Hello, thank you so much for joining in. Where are you calling in from? I'd love to know. So you need this class? Okay, we're actually just sharing some information. It's not necessarily a class, but please feel free. If there's something of interest here, take it away and employ it and see how it works for you. So in the first case, and you're calling in from St. Louis, well, welcome. How are you? I wonder what it's like over there at the moment.
Quite a big deal.
What time of day is it for you? And we've got Abdullah as well. Okay, well, it looks to me like he might be doing some sort of advertising. I'm not too sure, but that's okay. So, Mark, I thought I'd start with you. When we're looking at the STEM question, I guess, which is what I started with about, you know, the vaccination debate. I don't really want to get into that, but what I do want to do is get people positioned to make the most of whatever choice they make. So what's one of the things we can do on a physical level to actually support the body no matter what you choose to do.
Okay, so when somebody comes to see me and they're asking me about whether they should vaccinate or not, I always let them know that firstly that it has to be their decision because it's going into their body. So they need to do their due diligence. But there are some things that as time goes by, we're seeing more and more evidence in terms of protecting and supporting the immune system. Vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, all have some evidence to show that they have a use in maintaining a good, healthy, functioning immune system. I think
so. These vitamins, just the ones you get across the counter, will do?
Yeah, I think so at this stage. I mean, I think so. We need to, like vitamin C, vitamin C is vitamin C. How it's made changes what it does, but really ascorbic acid will work to help strengthen the immune system. It does a lot of other things in the body too, but we're looking at it in that reason, that from that perspective. Zinc, I think, is really important. The only thing about zinc I'd be a little bit careful of over the counter would be perhaps if it had an oxide attached to it, then it's not as absorbable. But if it's an amino acid chelate or if it's a citrate or any of those kind of things, then that would be fine too. Vitamin D, D3 is the inactive form of vitamin D. So it has to be converted in the body, but taking it as a liquid or taking it as a spray form actually makes it easier to get into your body, and also it bypasses the digestive system. And those things at the moment are fairly easy to get and relatively inexpensive, and using them to support your immune system, even if you have COVID, using them to help you recover from your infection is, either way it works. I mean, the other thing is in preventing or helping to support your body through having the vaccination is another way to do these things. And these are things that we can do easily ourselves. We don't need to go see a practitioner to do that. But we can if you want to, and any nutritional or naturopathic practitioner would be able to help you there with that. Okay. But I think there are lots of other things. One of the things we have to recognize is the fear level that exists in our environment at the moment. Everybody's afraid. Doesn't matter where you are. I mean, we're relatively safe up here in the Northern Territory.
Lucky, I'd say, not safe.
But, so everyone has a slightly different opinion depending on where they're coming from and what they're dealing with right now. But I think those three things are highly beneficial in helping to improve immune function. And the stronger and healthier our immune system is, the easier it is for our body to fight off any form of infection, including COVID. So I think that's a really important thing. To just remember that you have the capacity to do that, and not to let the fear stop you from doing these things. They're very simple, they're very straightforward. There are some herbs that we can use, but I think that becomes a little more complicated. And you probably need to see a nutritionist or a naturopath to actually get those herbs in a form that would be useful to you.
Okay, yeah, I was actually just thinking, the faithful echinacea, everybody tells you if you're coming down with a cold, race out and grab some echinacea. So
that would be interesting.
What's the value of echinacea in a situation like this?
Well, echinacea, I think the first few days where you start to notice symptoms, that's when echinacea is most valuable, and potentially echinacea could be really useful in those first few days. It may not be enough to stop the infection, but it certainly could go some way in lessening the effect. But we can't say we do this instead of, checking in with our doctors and things like that. We still have to do that. So, echinacea is probably not a bad thing right at the very beginning, but if you've already missed that maybe 48, 72 hours of symptoms, then echinacea will be helpful, but perhaps not as helpful as the zinc, the vitamin C, and the vitamin D. I think the dosage you need to regulate, your dosage needs to be based on what's said on the bottle. And also, if you are seeing a practitioner, they can help you regulate your dosage if you need more or less, that kind of thing. I think the other thing, though, Linda, we were talking about too, was the fear and how we can help to improve the vibration of the body in relation to the infection. And, looking at things that we can actually do, like exercise, eating, a good plant-based diet, doing all of those kind of things. I think that's a really useful thing. Getting good sleep, managing our stress through meditation or qigong or Pilates or yoga or any of those things, breathing exercises, anything that helps to keep our mind and body together in the present moment will always be good. Always be.
Yeah, and finding that point of balance. I know I jokingly said before, if you have to watch the news to find out, what's going on, to keep across, everything that you need to keep across at the moment, that's perfectly well and good. But find something really funny to watch afterwards and get yourself a good laugh, get yourself a lovely hit of endorphins so you don't stay down in that slump of depression and fear. And hello, Meg, what are you asking us for? A list at the end of the chat so you can write it down. Okay, yes, we can do that. Absolutely. As long as you remind us.
Yeah, Meg, make sure you remind us.
So yeah, I was talking about, it's really important, and it does sound a little bit jokey, but laughing is actually a really powerful way to not only boost your mood, but also to boost your immune system. So I think it's really important that we do find ways to bring something funny in, and it is tough, at the moment in some of the environment, and particularly, if you just tune into the news media, you're going to get fed a constant steady dose of fear. So really try to leaven that dose and balance it out and find something that lifts your heart, that makes you laugh. Okay, and then there are other activities that you can do, like dancing and music, of course, are beautiful, powerful ways to enhance your mood. And again, their movement, they're getting your body moving, they're getting the blood circulating, they're doing all the beautiful things that movement does for your body, as well as boosting the mood and again boosting the immune system. So it's not just about putting stuff into your body, it's about thinking, okay, I can take physical actions.
I agree.
That improve things for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really important thing that we have to do. And the more that we do that, yes, Meg, you do.
Meg.
I think the more we think about the things that bring us joy, the things that make us feel good about ourselves, it doesn't matter what it is. There's no one thing that fits everybody. It's just whatever brings you joy and makes you feel good. That stuff is really, really valuable in helping to get you to help improve your vibration, and that affects immune function, that affects nervous system function, that affects gut function. It improves sleeping. It generally makes us feel better. The less we feel in control of our world, the more likely we are to buy into the fear that's going on at the moment, which is okay. We can do that, but we just need to know that that's what we're actually doing, and how it's affecting us more than anything else.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just playing with comments then and listening to the blind bang. I'm just going to let you. I think the next thing I really wanted to actually focus on is at a vibrational level, some of the things that we can do. And you touched on meditation. So meditation is wonderful for bringing peace and quietude to the mind, and it has a number of beautiful physiological benefits, but it also works at a vibrational level. So I'm just going to duck out a shot for a minute and shut the door, because we've got the aircon on and the door's just come wide open, so it's getting really hot again. I'm just going to leave Marg here for a tick to talk about meditation.
Okay, well, meditation, you can do lots of different things with meditation. You can meditate in lots of different ways. I think it's a very personal thing, and I think you need to kind of experiment. These days there's so much stuff on the internet, which is really cool, because you don't have to pay for it either. Mindfulness meditation, where you're becoming more aware of your body and your mind working together, is a really good way to start. There are guided meditations, there are vibrational meditations, and depending on how you respond.
Well, now that's interesting. What do you mean by vibrational meditation?
Oh, okay. Well, mantra meditation.
Mantra.
Yeah. So mantra meditation.
So, shall we explain a bit more about mantra?
Okay. So a mantra meditation is a group of words that creates a vibrational response in the body when you say it out loud. So I was taught a really long time ago by a Buddhist monk, Hamsa. And this is a meditation to help calm you down. It's what he called a spot meditation. You didn't have to be lying, sitting cross-legged in a dark room, doing it. You could actually do it anywhere. So when I was bringing up my kids, I was always going, Hamsa, so that I could feel the vibration in my body, and that would calm my body down.
Beautiful.
And so my body is now trained that whenever I even think that, it starts to calm down, which is kind of cool. So I resonate with vibration. So for me, vibrational meditation, like mantras.
That was quite funny.
Yeah.
Pun intended, right?
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. So, but I first started learning just breath. I learned mindfulness meditation. I read Thich Nhat Hanh's book, Walking Meditation, which opened my eyes to the fact that we can make anything we do in our life a meditation if we're present and if we're aware of it. And I just went, that's so cool, because that means I don't have to carve out more time to meditate. I can actually incorporate it into all the other things I already do. So it's it's a good way to make you more present in your world, and when we're present we have less fear.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I like to do is working with mindfulness, because that enables you to step into the moment and be fully present, aware, I guess. So, one of the things that helps to do that is the breath. And even when you're having a really active day, one of the really cool things to do to help yourself stay on an even keel, a little bit like Margaret's story with the Hamsa. Love the sound. Hamsa. Yeah, gorgeous. You can set a little alarm on your radio. No, what's this called? Phone.
Yeah.
Showing my age. On your phone to go off every hour, every half hour, whatever it is that suits you, and take 30 seconds to a couple of minutes to 5 minutes, whatever it is that suits you, to actually stop and just breathe. And really focus on your breathing and just notice, where was I? What am I thinking? What's going on around me? Just come back to, what am I doing right now? And then you can go on and do the next thing. But this opportunity to stop during the day is another beautiful way to start training the body to be able to start counteracting the stress response that is chronically switched on at the moment.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Stopping and taking a breath. It sounds a bit woo-woo, but physiologically, your breath is actually the only conscious connection that you have with your autonomic nervous system. I can never say that word.
Yeah.
Autonomic nervous system, right? And this is how you can switch out of the stress response and into the more quiet rest, digest. Anybody think I've been drinking champagne, not chai tea? But, harnessing the power of the breath, because that's your conscious connection to being able to signal the subconscious part of your body that you are safe. Being able to slow the breath.
Yeah, bring you back into balance.
Bring you back into balance. Soothe that vagus nerve and just bring you back into the present. So that's a really handy little, I do it occasionally.
Yeah. I do
helps.
it all the time.
Yeah.
I think the other thing here too is that it's not about one thing or the other. It's about working out what is the most valuable thing for you to do. So it really comes back to thinking about what it is that you need. So if you're in an environment, a high risk environment, and you feel like you need to have the COVID vaccine, then having the COVID vaccine is what you need to do. You just don't want to make a decision based around fear. You want to think it through, and you want to make whatever decision is the right decision for you. That's the most important thing, I think. If you do it that way, then whatever you choose to do actually will be fine. Everything will be okay. It's only when we allow our fears to take control that we get we tend to make mistakes, or we tend to, overreact too quickly, or all it is about when we breathe and we reconnect mind and body and we come back into the present moment, we can observe what is going on, and that helps us to then go, okay, yeah, I think I will have the vaccination. My next question is, which one? Or
bless you, Meg.
Whatever.
Oh, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle.
So I think, I really think that it's about you being confident and comfortable in your decision about what you choose to do for you and your family. That's the most important thing. And knowing that that's the right thing for you guys. I think everyone...
You pick up a really important point there about fear and making fear-based decisions. It's really hard at the moment to not do that. So, we've talked about meditation, and we've talked about, the supplemental approach to supporting the physical body. But from a vibrational level, some of the other things that you can do, if you don't mind me changing the topic just slightly.
That's fine.
Is if you're familiar with your chakra body, is to actually really reconnect with your chakra body. Your root chakra is the place that really processes fears. So now's a really good time to check in and make sure you are grounded, that you are feeling safe and secure in your own environment, and that you are consciously working on balancing and cleansing your energy body, particularly through the chakra system on a daily basis. That's also going to help in the overall scheme of things.
Yeah.
So, we've got a whole swag of tools between us, but really you need to pick and choose the things that you maybe already do and are comfortable with, and can maybe bolster them a bit more, or things that that are easily within your grasp that you can start to incorporate easily without overtaxing, because we don't want to increase the stress load by taking on all this extra stuff to do.
Yeah, I'm really big into that, not increasing the stress load, because we already generally are more stressed than we should be. So anything that doesn't increase our stress load is a good thing. And I think it really just gets back to the more we focus on what it is that we need rather than what we think we need. So allow for ourselves to stay in the present moment and feel how it feels rather than think how it thinks, will always help us to make the right decision, even if that decision appears to be, not a mainstream decision or a mainstream decision. It doesn't matter. It's all about just coming back to ourself and recognizing our value within ourself and the importance of that to ourself. And from there, we can actually make the right decision for us. And the interesting thing is that the right decision for all of us is different for everybody, and that's actually totally fine.
Yeah.
In my family,
it's the power of free will. Yeah. We're individuals.
Indeed. Yeah. And in my family, my husband wants to get vaccinated. My daughter wants to get vaccinated. I'm still on the fence. But that's okay, because we're all honoring ourselves. We're all making sure that we're doing the right thing for us at the right time. So, and I think that's the really important thing, is just making sure that we're honoring ourselves. And when we're in present moment, it's much harder for fear to seep in and for us to then go, oh, okay, well, I'll go and do it because that's what everyone else is doing.
And that's the thing, it's because everybody else is doing it, I'll do it. But it's not just that, it's becoming, if you don't do it, you won't be able to do X, Y, or Z. So it's becoming much more a case of the choices being taken away. But again, even in that situation, it's really important. I think this mindless decision making that's based in fear is actually, quite dangerous. And I'm not advocating that you don't go ahead and get vaccinated if that's what you want to do. What I'm advocating is a mindful choice and living, as much as we can, reducing the fear. And if we can do that on an individual basis, right, reduce our own fear and start working in a more mindful capacity on a daily basis, back to the vibrational stuff, this is actually going to have an impact at the collective conscious level. So at the moment, we're really struggling because there are so many people feeling the fear and making mindless decisions. That is a vibrational pattern that we are all being subjected to. So if we can actually come back to home in our center and, you know, doing things like connecting with heart coherence, you know, or if you're lucky enough like us to be Reiki attuned and connecting with Reiki every day, doing things like this that bring a vibration of unconditional love into your own body, then allows you to cleanse that fear and to start radiating that vibration out from you and affecting the environment around you.
Yes.
Okay. And then the more of us that are able to do that and sustain a vibration, bit by bit, we're going to chip away at that overriding pattern of fear and mindless decision making and start getting a bit of light through.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, very important. I'm not sure what was very important, but thank you, Meg. So heart coherence is pretty powerful, and it's easy enough to do.
Yeah.
Everybody can do a Google search and actually look up some heart coherence guided meditations, or they can connect with us and get some.
Indeed, they can. Yeah. I always remember when we talk about everything in a larger view, I always remember something my Nana used to tell me, and that was, you know, think globally but act locally. So everything we can do for ourselves the ripple effect of that will improve the vibration for everybody else and everything else as well.
Yeah.
Which I think in essence is what you were saying.
Yeah. And I'd add to that, you know, a lot of traditional cultures, when they look at decision making, make decisions based on how it affects the seventh generation.
Yeah.
So it's not just looking at how it serves me in this moment. It's looking at how does it serve me and my community, my children's community, my children's children, and so on, out to 7 generations. So I think there's a lot to learn in decision making from that perspective.
I do too. And I think it's about that comes back to integrity too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So it forces you to stay in your own integrity, or to recognize that, you know, you need to be true to yourself so that you can make the right decision or the correct decision at that moment in time. But in saying that, you know, again, this Buddhist monk said to me, every decision we make at that moment in time is the right decision for that moment in time.
Absolutely. Because
so hindsight is a waste of time.
Yeah. And worrying about the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I thought that's true, you know, so letting go of worrying about whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing, or what should I do or what should I do, you know, just let it go and feel how it feels and go with that. The more present we are, the easier it is to do that.
It's interesting. I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday about this type of concept, and she basically had an aha moment of, how do I be this new person in this new situation every moment of every day?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do I be a mother to two children aged whatever the ages were when I've never done that before? How do I be married to the same person for the last 15 years when I've never done that before? How do I be? And it was like she just had this realization of, if I am to truly live in the present moment, all of this, I've never done any of this before. And I think that that's a really important and valuable concept in this particular context, you know, to everything around us, we've never experienced it before. And this idea that the pandemic, we've never experienced that before, that's true. But history has shown us a similar pattern in the past that we can reflect on and perhaps make choice moving forward that is different.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that is a very good point. I think, moving too far into the future will always create a problem for everybody, you know, because it creates anxiety, and it affects how our body functions. And once our body starts to deteriorate or not function the way that we want it to, everything else, the ripple effect is that everything else is starting to get more dysfunctional as well. So I do agree that that's a good, we need to be more mindful of that, definitely. It's one of those things that each and every person has to come to in their own time. And we all have the capacity to do that, because we spoke about that last week in terms of intuition, and intuition being something that everybody possesses. It's just not everybody uses. And I think really it comes down to making those individual choices for ourselves as clearly as we can and as confidently as we can, and allowing then for what unfolds to unfold.
Absolutely.
And just trusting that it will be the right thing, because it will be. No question.
So there's really no wrong decision.
No, there isn't. There is no wrong decision at all. And I think that's one of the nicest things of all, is that there is no wrong decision. There just is the right decision for you at this moment in time. So feel pleased that you can actually make this decision yourself safely and effectively, and know that you're making the right decision for you.
And making it from that place of peace and acceptance that this is perfectly okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever it is, it's perfectly okay.
Yeah. And that's, I think, the word of today. Today's word is perfect.
Well, I feel like we kind of talked that one through.
I think we did too.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
That was a really good one.
Yeah.
If there was a favourite moment from our conversation for you today, Margaret, what would it be?
Oh, goodness. I think just being really clear about the fact that every decision that we make is our decision, and that every decision we make at any moment in time, being the present moment, because that's all we have, is the correct one for that moment in time. So it frees us from the burden of worrying about whether we've made the right decision or the wrong decision. And it also frees us from the burden of worrying about what other people think or say to us in relation to the choice we've made. So I think for me, absolutely, that's the most important thing, remembering that is that, every decision we make is the right decision for that moment.
Absolutely.
What about you?
Yeah, okay. I have to say my favourite moment is Hamsa.
I love that. Isn't it wonderful?
Just remind us again, Hamsa is the vibration for...
Well, Hamsa was, it's the vibration for peace or settling or calming your body down. It's a very simple spot meditation. There are lots of other meditations that the Buddhists use that are mantra based, but I found Hamsa resonated really quickly, and it was really easy to remember. That's the other thing. It was easy to remember.
So I might just pop it in the comments there. It's HAM, is that right?
No, HUM.
It is.
Yeah.
And just SA.
Yeah.
Hamsa. And
now that's probably not the exact correct spelling. However, that phonetically, if you say Hamsa, you get the vibration that you're looking for, and that's what that's what it's about.
Yeah, and isn't that interesting? I just typed that in, and it's come from all 3 pages that we're linked to.
Oh, cool.
As a comment, so it's there 3 times.
Oh, awesome.
3 is my lucky number. As you can tell, I've got Isis in the background. I'm very much into the power of 3.
3 is a good number.
The triple goddess, all those sort of good things.
Definitely.
So if you're still watching, I'd love to know what your favourite moment is. Is there anything that you'd like to take away from what we've said today that you feel like you could put into practice? That would be wonderful. And if you find that would be helpful in helping settle some of those moments where it does get a little bit intense, we have intense moments, particularly watching the news. Gets intense. So, pop them in the comments. We'd love to know. Other than that,
I think we're finished.
I think we're really well and truly talked out.
Indeed. I need another cup of tea.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, Margaret, indeed, as always. Yeah. And it's been so wonderful to share the afternoon with you as well. Thank you, everybody who joined in. That was Michelle, and we had Sweet Eyes from Alabama, I think she said. She might be asleep by now, 11:35. I reckon that's PM. No, she's from St. Louis. Beg your pardon. And Meg, thank you for your company. It's been wonderful to have you here. We'll see you again next Friday.
No worries.
Bye now.
Bye.